Well, we're super glad that everybody's here today to listen in. So I'm starting to invite different women from our organization to these morning meetings just to share stories up and down the Rocky Mountains with some of our agents. And I must say that Kelly, Broling Smoak from the Bozeman office, is one of the people that Jeff highlighted for me and said, you know what, you need to talk to this woman. She's very, very interesting. She has a very, very cool story. So what I wanted to start out with is to just tell you a little bit about what I've learned about her in her numbers and doing some research. I would call her by definition a listing queen. Pretty amazed at the way this woman knows how to drive listings. So if you're having trouble with listings, you need to connect with her after this session. So in 2019, Kelly came on board. She had 9 physical listings for $3.6 million. No transactions, just listings. And remember, listings build business. In 2020, she actually had 56 things that she put under contract. So she was writing crazy amounts of contracts. She had 21 physical closings, which just shows you it's a lot of work to get what you want to get done. She ended up creating over $10 million in volume. And the coolest part about that entire part was she brought 14 new listings and listing sides to her transactions versus 7 buying. So she really gets consistently what that means. And currently, she's all stoked because she has 9 new listings for first quarter. So $11 million worth of new listings means that she'll always have money in her pipeline to grow her business. So more than anything, Kelly, super glad you're here. And I just wanted to start out by just asking you a few questions. Bottom line is, what are some of the characteristics that guide you in your real estate business? How today, when you're doing business as you're doing business?
Well, first of all, good morning to
Good morning.
everybody. And I'm super excited to be here. Grateful and thankful for the business and where I'm at now in the business. It was a big decision to leave the company that I had been with for 10 years and to come on with Jeff. And so I obviously am very excited that I did. Last year I had my best year that I've ever had. And this year is right now almost double what I did last year. And the year is not done. So I think the characteristics that guide me is that first and foremost, you always want to stay grounded. You always want to stay yourself. If you feel like you have to step outside of your own personality, it's not going to work. So what I do in my business is be completely, totally, 100% transitionless. So by that, I just mean that I am the exact same person at home, at the grocery store, and at work. And so just the integrity, respect and honor have to be, for me, at the core of every transaction. And by that, I mean every transaction that I have, like I said, with my favorite people, at the grocery store, with my husband, with my 4 daughters, with every single client. And so I'm the same person no matter where I am. I take my business very seriously, but I also love to have fun.
Nice. Well, when I talked to Kelly originally, transparency was a big word for her when we had our first conversation. And I think that's really what she's sharing with you is she's being herself ultimately in every aspect of what she does. So great stuff. So Kelly, how did you get to real estate? Tell me a little bit about that story.
Yeah, my story is pretty ugly at times. I will say it's not all, pretty, but I think we all have our own story, and I only just want to encourage people. I want to encourage people to keep fighting, to keep working, don't give up. So originally, probably in about 2009, my then at the time husband had asked me to do all the hours that were necessary for real estate. I completed all my hours after being an at-home mom for probably 15 plus years. I love to work, but I'd been a stay-at-home mom for that long with my 4 daughters. He at some point when the girls were in school had asked me to do this, I completed my hours, took my test, was very excited to start. And then he said, oh, no, I don't want two realtors in the house. Unfortunately, after 17 years, that marriage did not work. So I found myself having to be the breadwinner of 4 daughters and still wanting and craving all of those same things that I had as an at-home mom. I wanted to be able to pick them up at school. I wanted to be able to drop them off at school, and I needed to make money. Unfortunately, he decided to cut me off from all access to our finances. And so I, for a time, was on food stamps. I was relying on the love, from family members and help from family members, and wanted to step back into real estate because I saw that as being the answer for being the breadwinner for my daughters, as well as being able to pick them up from school and go on, the little day trips and everything with them. So I redid my hours because it was already 2 years had passed. So I redid all my hours, got my license, and started my business. One of the best pieces of advice that I got was to treat it like a real business and not like a side hustle. So that is my story. That's how it started out. And here I am.
So Kelly, thank you for that. I mean, it's always amazing to find people that have stories, because I think a lot of us do. And after you've told your story, sometimes, like you said, it's just wonderful to hear other people and realize that we're real human beings. Sometimes we forget that. So one of the things that we talked about initially was this ability for you to build into your business the purchase of a home and how powerful that became for you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I thought that was a great analogy. And also because we're in the real estate business, a home does matter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do own my own home. My father has always been probably the biggest inspiration for me in my work life, because as a very young man, he did whatever it took to support his family. So my dad helped me with my first home. He built my first home for me that I bought on my own. And then I very, very excitingly can pay that home off this year. And I don't say that to flex, as my girls call it, but only just to encourage everyone that's on this call that you can absolutely do anything that you set your mind to. I've always been a huge dreamer. I compete with myself. I'm a lifelong learner, and I keep working hard and being the genuine self that God created me to be. And there has been so much success and help along the way.
Awesome. So Kelly, one last question for you. If you were to give another woman in this group or in this company or even outside this business some advice about how to start this business, what's something that you think is really critical in that first step when you're like brand new and you don't know what you're doing? What tips do you have?
It's not going to be different than anything probably that you've ever heard. Going back to what my first broker told me was that it takes 3 to 5 years to build your business. Treat it like a real business. It is not a side hustle. Be your genuine self so that you don't have to think about where you are, who you're talking to. And most of all, what I did was I did open houses. I did open house after open house after open house after open house. And I met people, and I worked hard. And then I would have another listing, and I would do open house after open house after open house. And so that that is what I would say. I would say, put your head down, work really hard. It can be done. Anyone who wants to do this business can do it. If you work hard, you're a lifelong learner. You constantly want to build your skill and ability, and you want to build on the right foundation. I really appreciate what Todd and Jeff and Suzanne and Carrie and Teresa are always doing, and everybody at CBDP are always doing. I also have a coach, Lucinda. She owns several Coldwell Bankers, and I've had help along the way. I haven't done this by myself, but I compete with myself. And every year I want to do better. Every year I set goals, and I'm just growing. I even told my coach this year, I want to grow. I want to know what I did wrong last year that I can correct this year, so that I can be, better for my family, better for my girls, better for myself, my clients, my husband, and my listings. So.
Nice. Well, your story really, you just really share with what we believe in, which is to build a business for the future and also long term. So Kelly, thank you so much for sharing today. And for those of you that are interested in talking to her, I think I'm going to ask her to put her, if you don't mind, email address and phone number in the chat, because I think one of our ideas here is that people can grow and connect through these conversations. And I would definitely say that if you're looking for some kind of conversation about listings, this is a person that you would want to talk to. She's pretty stellar at what she's doing. So Kelly, thanks for your time. We're so glad you were here, and let's stay connected.
Thank you so much. I was so glad
to have you.